I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. I first covered Sarah Boone's case. This is my 29th video on Sarah Boone, and I have a full playlist. And this video is linked in the playlist. There, this is my 29th video on her. And every time I say, "This is gonna be my last video," she does something else. And I will only cover it if there's something that we can learn, if there is something that we can talk about. My heart continues to go out to the Torres family because I think Sarah wants to stay in the news and to stay on everyone's mind, and like, she just won't fade away. Now, with this, y'all might not know I did my dissertation on forgiveness and aggressive children. I have a chapter in my book, Turning Crisis into Clarity: How to Survive or Thrive in the Midst of Uncertainty. Chapter, let's see, chapter, is it 8? No. Chapter 10 is on forgiveness. I have videos on my channel talking about forgiveness. When she uses the word forgiveness, we're not talking about the same thing. Like when she says forgiveness, I hear vengefulness, which is the complete opposite of forgiveness, because forgiveness is truly letting, which is, and there's emotional forgiveness, the decision to forgive. I was on a research team in so that was how I got my dissertation chair that I had, was because I was on her forgiveness research team. She was the best dissertation chair to have because she thought the best dissertation was a done dissertation and like she was super sweet to work with. She made the process like super smooth, but with learning and researching the concept of forgiveness, when she uses those words, she is talking about getting back at people, because she also talks about forgiving herself. But in order to forgive yourself, you need to admit that you did something wrong. And it's like she's saying she forgives herself for loving George, or she forgives herself for not leaving. But it's like, no, ma'am, like you did the crime, you're the reason he's not here. Like that's the reason why we're all here. And that's what you've been charged with. That's what you were found guilty of. And so I did want to take a look at this letter, because Sarah Boone released the full unedited version of her sentencing statement. We all knew it was going to be bad. Like, every time I think I'm prepared for what Sarah Boone is gonna do, I like more stuff comes out. This has been covered by The Lawyer You Know, Emily D. Baker, Uncivil Law. There are a lot of different lawyers that have covered it. I wanna take a look at this from a psychological perspective. So we start with Mr. Michael Kranig. And every other letter she's written to him has said honorable judge or Judge Kranek. She's never said. And so anytime she, even though she uses words wrong, her use of Mr. here is to take him off of being like a judge. And she doesn't have the power or the capacity to do this. I also wonder, because to me, there are a lot of signs of narcissism in all of this. And I saw Tanika was doing a members only stream. And so thank you, anybody joining from Tanika's 2 cents. Like, the fact that she is being so disrespectful, but to me, this is because he is no longer any use to her. When you are no longer any use to her, you no longer have value. And that's not how things work in our society. I don't think that's how things should be, that people only get my respect when they have value. Like, so I try to respect everyone. Now, if somebody's disrespectful towards me, I set a boundary with them, but they don't lose their value. And to me, she was incredibly disrespectful towards everyone in this letter. And in my opinion, including herself. This should have stayed in her journal. This should have been a journal entry where she got all of her emotions out, and then yes. And so to me, we see lots of features of the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. She was diagnosed with those traits. Um I'm trying to pull them up in the background. So I as we as they show up in here, because at the Mr. Cranick, we already have grandiosity and a sense of entitlement. Like just there. I also feel like there's exploitation, lack of empathy, there's envy, arrogance, difficulty with criticism, and that extremely fragile self-esteem. I feel like she's knocking off all of the criteria right here in this one letter. Can you diagnose somebody just from a letter? No, you can't. And I will put information if anybody wants to check out the book. I've also had streams talking about the book. There there might be a playlist called, like, there might be a book playlist. I'm not sure, but all right, let's keep it going. And I'm breathing because she irks every single nerve I have, every single one. I am enclosing, please. Then why do we use please here? I am enclosing, please, my complete statement to you and the world as I partially read during my sentencing hearing. Okay. By my reserving particular parts of my very true and meaningful statement. Just because something's true doesn't mean it should come out your mouth. I was hoping to have been graced with your forgiveness. The judge isn't there to give forgiveness. The judge is there to provide a legal sentence based on the law, based on your behavior, based on judicial discretion and the law. And to me, she earned that life sentence that she received. She just did. I was hoping to have been graced with your forgiveness, understanding, and consideration in any level or degree. A- And I think this is why Judge Cranick did not, I think this is why Judge Cranick did not give any I'm trying to make this bigger and talk at the same time. I think this is why he didn't give a statement at her sentencing, because he could have. He could have said something. He could have made a statement, and anything he said that could have impacted the appeal, because if he had said more, she would have used every word he said to, like, twist, and this is why you're biased towards me, this is why you blah blah blah. Like, she would have tried to use it if he had said anything. And so I think it, knowing her personality and knowing that, I think she wanted to hear his thoughts, and the fact that he gray rocked her. Do we all know what gray rock is in the chat? Gray rock is when you're dealing with somebody who has narcissistic traits and they want your reaction, you don't give it to them. Now, sometimes if you're in that relationship, sometimes that can trigger them to escalate. Yellow rock, and I feel there were times that Judge Cranick would show some emotion, but not too much. He would be like, "Okay, Miss Boone," and he would placate, I don't know, like, he would entertain some of her thoughts, because she would immediately be like, "I don't understand," because she either goes from being the brightest person in the room, or when she's not going her way, all of a sudden she doesn't understand words. She has an inability to accept things that she does not like. And I don't know that any of that will ever change because she would have to want to change it. And nothing has happened, in my opinion, from anything I've seen. I don't know that she's learned from any of this. I feel like she digs in deeper and she just keeps doing the same stuff over and over again, expecting a different result. And that's what some people call, it's not like legal insanity. It's not even what, but like she's doing the same thing over and over, wondering, why am I still the victim? Why is everybody being so mean to me without accepting, ma'am, you are the reason why we are here. If she hadn't taken a self defense, like if she hadn't claimed self defense and battered spouse, her phone recordings of her torment of George would have stayed out of this whole thing. We wouldn't have seen the worst videos. I have said it on my channel multiple times. I thought that the suitcase video was going to be the worst video I had ever seen, and I thought that video was going to be the worst. And then we saw that video of George in the corner, like almost in a fetal position, looking afraid, looking scared, and she is just berating him. And I've said it, and I heard Tanika like say, like he did not have any safe space anywhere in that home. His safe space was honestly to leave. And I think that sometimes he would sleep outside, but that was when she locked him out. I don't know that that was him seeking safety. It's the whole thing is just so problematic and it bothers me so much, but okay, we're going to try to get through this. We're going to get through this together. And I am going to skip the parts where the parts that she read during the trial. I'm going to skip over that part. All right. Oh my gosh. For me, unfortunately, and regardless of whom I had to speak on my behalf or the number of your ignorant mind, what? Or the number of, I guess, people she had to speak to her, your ignorant mind was already made up. And so that's where, who would have the nerve? Like, ma'am, you knew. Judge Kranek set her down when because they put it on the record that she denied the state's 15-year offer. We don't always see, that's not always done publicly in court. We don't always see what offer was made, but and I don't know if Owens asked them to do this on the record, but they got it on the record. And Judge Kranek was like, "Ma'am, do you understand you're facing life in prison?" And she's like, "I understand. Yes." Com- she said something. I don't remember exactly what she said, but in those moments, she always tries to come off incredibly competent, despite just ugh, ugh. Hey, Tanika, welcome, welcome. Oh my gosh. Okay. How do you feel after all of your education? So, Kelly D, a person like her, she is projecting her own ignorance, in my opinion. Judge Kranek is not the ignorant person. Like none of us think he's the one that's ignorant. She is projecting her own insecurity and her own. She should have taken the deal. She was offered the deal. She should have taken it. She's the what? Like, how is this on him? But it just protects her fragile ego and okay. By your clear error and full-blown unfair bias against me since your involvement in my crucible? Is she using that word right? Maybe. I don't know. Case as a whole, I have been unsuccessful in receiving anything from you. What? Ma'am. Ma'am. Any Judge Kranek's the reason why she got more than any other defendant that had ever been pro se. Remember the lawyer from the jail that was like, no other defendant crucifiable, maybe, is that what she meant? I can't. You can't dig in too deep to her words because she uses words wrong. um I just and she does try to play God, okay? Like, I didn't think about the fact that when she says that we are blaspheming her, I forgot who said it. I don't remember who I said, but she does think that she's a deity. Judge K gave her so many opportunities, gave her like he was so kind. He's the reason why her silly defense, her what was it? Her scintilla of evidence was able to be presented to the jury. Okay, somebody found Crucible. What is it? Crucible. Okay. And you know she does have dictionaries and and thesauruses and stuff, and so maybe she used it correctly. I just like to think that she does that she uses it wrong. I always preface it that she could totally be using it correctly because there are things that she does wrong. Tanika's 2 cents points out all of her grammatical mistakes. I'm not as good at catching those because yes, I'm not as good at catching those. All right, let's keep going. Because remember, for her, the only way that she would have seen this being successful is if she was found not guilty. That was the only thing that would have been success for her. But ma'am, you did it. You you're guilty. And it was, to me, in my opinion, it was because of her alcoholism and just her personality style and her just I she seemed to have this contempt for George, that and this sadistic nature, and her need to punish people is a bit scary. And I'm glad that she got life. I'm not sad about it. All right. Um Oy. Okay, so I have been unsuccessful in receiving anything from you as a as supposed fair and neutral judge, except for your wish that I spend the rest of my life in. Ma'am, that wasn't a wish, that was your sentence. His wish that she spend the rest of her life in jail, that was her sentence. That's not his wish. That is not his wish. Um Uncivil law also, like I mentioned earlier, uncivil law also covered this. Oh, and gets a lot of great laughs. Okay. I love it when, yes, he laughs big about it. I have little ears in the background that are supposed to play quietly. I apologize if y'all can hear, but yes. We parent on here, and I appreciate your consideration. Sure. Please know and always remember, Mr. Kranek, I forgive you. So, but this isn't, so remember when I mentioned at the start of this, when she says I forgive you, I think she's really saying F you. Like, I don't think she's saying forgive. Like, this isn't a forgiveness letter. This isn't forgiveness. Forgiveness is like, if you had truly forgiven, you wouldn't need to write this. You wouldn't need to post this. You would journal and get your emotions out. You would talk to your therapist, but this would not be something that you would post for the world to see, because this shows vengefulness to me and why she is exactly where she needs to be, in my opinion. Still and sincerely, because this is where she uses manipulative language, but she's not good at it because you can see what she's doing. Like, you can see that she's like she's like it's I'm trying to use YouTube friendly words. She's like trying to slap someone and then be like, I forgive you for me slapping you. And then and then trying to be polite after the fact. I can't. Okay. Still insincerely, please understand also the judge, according to Cicero, is never to use cite that he is simply a man and that he cannot exceed the power given to him by his commission. And Judge Kranek did not, because like going beyond the power that he had would have been like sentencing her to death or something. Like, that wasn't something that he sentenced her according to the guidelines. That not only power, but public confidence has been given to him, that he ought always, hmm, very seriously, to attend not to his wishes, but to the requisitions of law, justice, and religion. And but like Judge Cranick did that. So she's just mad because she didn't get her way. She wouldn't feel this way if she had gotten her way. If Judge Cranick had downward departed and sentenced her to 5 years. She still would have been mad at the jury, but I don't think that we would be here with this letter. And so to me, this is to get back at the court, which is not forgiveness. It's just not. Once again, I researched forgiveness. My dissertation was on forgiveness, and I have a chapter on forgiveness in my book. This is not it. I am excited in my appeal, which speaks for itself, my case law as well, in which I am extremely proud to have achieved. But she's making it sound like she did something. Ma'am, her attorneys are going to be the ones that file her appeal. I don't think she found the flaws and what was wrong and will continue doing so now that I am no longer in your corrupt court and free from your malevolent judicial grip. Oh my gosh. Sarah Boone versus state of Florida. She tries to make herself the victim and she's not. She's not. Exactly. So somebody said this screams disdain. Yes, Kelly, exactly. This screams I hate you. F you. Y'all can all go to hell. Like that's what this screams. But she's saying like all these positive well sometimes like she goes back and forth and it's incredibly manipulative. But she has a long history, in my opinion, of mentally, psychologically, emotionally harming people, and she's doing this to the court. And it gives me weird feelings knowing that she adopted disabled dogs because I think she enjoys people being dependent on her. I'm going to make myself bigger for this part because she wants all of this credit for taking care of disabled dogs, but I think she intentionally has things and people that are dependent on her so that then she can withhold it whenever she wants. And she has this power dynamic, which is very scary to me. Like the fact that I would rather she have abled dogs that didn't need her because she was a full-fledged alcoholic. Do y'all think she was taking care of those dogs well? Like at one point, she called the officer. I think one of the dogs escaped the house. Remember that video where the dog nobody knew where the dog was because she had left the door open? Like she's not responsible for herself. She doesn't need to have disabled dogs in my opinion. I well, and she got life. So Brian is most likely going to have her parental rights terminated. I think for Brian's son, I think it should be up to Brian or up to that child who's a teenager now. I think it should be up to that child to decide whether he wants a relationship with her. And if he decided to not ever talk to her ever again, I would get it. If he decided to just talk to her sometimes, sure, because whenever she talks to other people, it's for her benefit. It reminds me, so I have listened to the phone calls of Wade Wilson and they are just ugh, and they're getting worse more recently. And he would always start with like, "Oh, I love you. Like, how are you doing?" But then he would get to the part he wanted and he would get to the ask and he would get to the manipulation and Sarah gives me similar vibes, but in a different way. She likes people, animals who are defenseless. I agree. So I think she might have adopted them and they were, I don't know. I don't know that we know how she got those dogs. And exactly. She would blame George despite she was the one that left the door open. So that's why I don't believe her. The whole getting the knife to the leg thing, like she could have been upset and accidentally done it to herself, and I think she would have blamed him. She definitely like, but she thinks she's the hero, but she's the villain. She is the villain. She's not the hero and not the villain in like a way of setting boundaries or like she's the villain. All right, we're gonna try to keep going. Ah, and like I said, we're not gonna read every single word because we heard some of this in court. All right, let's see. Oh. I I also added to my statement as a result of your blindness and impartiality, but I think she meant partiality because impartiality is what the judge is supposed to do. Impartiality is correct. I think she meant partiality, but oh well. Foremost, your disgust in me, but that's where you are she should be disgusted with herself. Like the judge was not upset with her for being an outspoken woman, determined defendant, and proactive client, hoping the next time you put on oh, that's where okay, so let me go back. Okay. So this is to the judge. Okay. Uh like she always talks to people like they are lower than her. And she has the nerve to say, hoping the next time you put on your listening ears and do not unfairly oppress the next as you have so blatantly done me, which is like he did not oppress her. She did this to herself. She just did. Still feel like any injuries she incurred was due to joy. And I don't even think he defended himself. Based on everything we saw, like I don't trust her. Remember how giddy she got when the police were there? And I think she would black out drunk sometimes, and she might wake up with an injury and immediately blame him. Like, to the judge. She told the judge to put and Judge Cranick listened to her with a zen face and just the one time Judge Cranick broke was when Owens had the nerve to say self-defense, and he was like, "But I thought it was an accident." And like like Judge Cranick was like, "Self-defense? How did we get here?" But he didn't break, but I still love Judge Cranick has been phenomenal. There's some other judges that I have issues with. I have 0 issues with anything Judge Cranick did. If anything, there were times I think Judge Cranick let her set herself up. Because even at the end, he's asking her, "Were you happy with your defense?" And she's like, "Yes, very, extremely happy." "Okay. And you were any issues with the strategy your team used?" "No. Mm-mm, nope. I'm completely on board." And she didn't realize that he's making a record for her appeal, that she's not gonna be able to claim ineffective assistance of counsel. Right. She had a team of lawyers and okay, we're not even gonna go there. All right. Okay. You will never admit your many judicial errors. Sarah, will you admit one error? Sarah, Sarah. Sarah Ann Boone. I don't know the Ann's her middle name. I wanna make up a seems like Ann would make sense. And let's go back to her Paulson. Sarah Ann Paulson. You need to go sit down somewhere because you don't admit anything. Catherine, thank you. Sarah Catherine Paulson. Thank you for giving me the real one. Sarah Jean. Oh my gosh. She doesn't I'm sorry, Sarah Adams. Sarah with the H. Sarah H. Oh, but she's the villain. She's the bully. She's not the one. I can't with y'all. I can't. All right. So You will never admit your many judicial errors, nor will the prosecutors theirs. And I will never admit to what you have wrongfully accused me of and judged me as. I am not a murderer. I am a survivor. Sarah Boone. My child even finds that funny. She was. We're not going to go there. Oh, so now she starts talking about things. She's going to talk about black robe disease. Like, how long does she have to read to find these things? Arrogance in a judge, a slang term for a judge who flaunts judicial power and dominates proceedings at the expense of the disposition of justice, which Judge Cranick did not do. Impartiality. And so that's where, ma'am, you had the correct way to use the word and you didn't use it correctly before. Like you you had the correct way to use. Okay, we're just going to skip over that one. Impartiality is the first duty of a judge before he gives an opinion or sits in judgment in a cause. He ought to be certain and absolute that he has no bias for or against either of the parties. If he has any interest, even the most slightest, in the cause, he is disqualified from sitting as a judge, and when aware of such interests, ought to lawfully and justly refuse to sit on a case. The delicacy which characterizes the judges in this county generally forbids their sitting in such a case. And Judge Cranick was impartial. He did not make a single error. He cited his law. He would read the law. Like this case was handled beautifully. Beautifully. But okay. The judge must not only be impartial, but must also follow must also follow and properly enforce the law, not harm. He is bound to declare what law is. And so my child's asking me for something. Do you want this? Do you want it? You can have it. You can do Scratch Junior. Do you know where it is? Okay. So I think it's that one right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
So back from a parenting moment, he is bound to declare what law is and not make it be not an arbitrator, but an interpreter of the law, which Judge Cranick did. It is their duty to be patient, which he was. Ma'am, he was so patient with you. And the investigation of the case, understand circumstances and differences by all parties, which he did, careful in considering parts of a case in whole and decent in judgment, which Judge Cranick did. But at the risk of practicing judicial centrism, a word I have coined. Was that the word that person coined? Because she might be quoting. This might be a word this person coined. Murray Ritual. It might be there might be a term that person coined. Others have called it black robe disease, where whether he was correct or not in my behavior, it is widely accepted that judicial behavior affects the jury. But so Judge Cranick was incredibly kind to her. He never like he was I can't. I can't. And then there is the worst of judicial ailments, the black robe disease, which is otherwise known as arrogance. She has some nerve to call somebody else arrogant. Trial judges are affirmatively charged with securing a fair trial, which he gave you, and must intervene. Okay, I don't know. To the end when necessary. Okay. That duty encompasses not only the avoidance of error before it occurs, which he oh my gosh, but the fair correction of error that may have occurred earlier in a proceeding. And There wasn't Judge Cranick handled this beautifully. Judge Wooten was the judge before, and I think Judge Wooten did a good job as well. I think Judge Cranick kind of took things to the next level. I feel like Judge Wooten, you could tell that he was kind of done with Sarah, or which, and we can kind of understand. We can kind of get that part, but oh my gosh. Don't be such a Sarah. But Sarah Paulson, don't be it. And I feel sorry for people named Sarah. I'm sorry for anybody named Sarah in the chat. We don't mean you. I feel sorry for people named Karen too, because that's the word that's currently used for things like this. Oh, like she's just this isn't helpful. And I'm glad that she listened to Owens. So that's where she's not so far gone that she can't be counseled at all. Like she did listen to Owens when Owens was like, you need to cut these parts out. And she did, thinking, but she did it for a reason, thinking that um that it would do this. So how do I think Sarah got this way? Um so it sounds like she might have peaked in high school, because even I think in her letter, she tries to say that George kept her from getting a job when I don't think it was George. Like, George wasn't keeping her from getting a job. Like, she doesn't take responsibility for her actions. She did lose her parents at a young age. She grew up with her grandparents. I think there were some allegations of, but it didn't come up in trial or during any of the psychological evaluations. There were some question marks of, did she experience some childhood trauma? Uh, there is a brother that's I've heard reports that one of her brothers is incarcerated for something inappropriate, and so but nothing somebody experiences would give them the reason or an excuse to do these things. I think in families, everybody has a role, and I wonder if in her family, what role she played. She was the only girl. I don't know how she got attention from her parents, if she did got it in appropriate ways, or if she was sensitive to this feedback and everything at a younger age. Um, I saw in a therapist group, um, I think uh they talk about sometimes so all children are entitled, but there are some children that lack empathy, that are unfeeling, and getting them early intervention can be helpful. I have worked with some kids that struggled with seeing the perspectives of others, or that struggled with some of that empathy. And the first thing we did was we addressed their issue first. We worked on them accepting responsibility for their actions. And that's kind of where we started. But there are definitely things that people can do. But it's normal for kids and teens to have some levels of what we call egocentrism, or thinking they're kind of the center of the world, all of that. Like a part of that's developmental. But as you grow and mature, so to me, Sarah Paulson is stuck at like 12 years old emotionally. Like, this feels middle school to me. Is it just me? This letter feels very middle school. Mean girl. I remember middle school. It was the worst. And I had to apologize to somebody because I was kind of um I I didn't realize that, like, when you hear a rumor and then you tell somebody else, you're in the middle of it. Like, so I was spreading. So and almost got that almost got me into a fight. And it was like, oh, wait a minute. If I hear something, I need to keep my mouth shut. So I'm in the middle of the gossip and drama if I'm spreading it to other people. Like, this feels middle school. And so, like it seems like she's stuck at 12 emotionally. And I don't know what happened around that age. I don't know. I don't know. But like, and that's where, for anybody that's grown up with a parent like this, the book Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. That book can be helpful, has some resources. I really like the book Set Boundaries, Find Peace. That's another resource. I have an Amazon playlist. No, not playlist. I have a book list of like some of my favorite books. Um, and there I have different resources. Thank you, Shy Gal, for gifting a membership, and welcome, Joyce, for becoming a new member. Somebody said, "Oh, Boone's toilet hooch." Oh, no, thank you. Uh, um, all right, let's get back to the chat. All right, hi, we're gonna get through this together. Okay, so Judge Cranick didn't do anything wrong. Okay, so this is the part that she read in trial, and the way she said this is stuck in my brain because I think she said it wrong. Because she said, "Kinsu," I don't know how but she said it wrong. Um, because she's gonna talk about how there's weakness and imperfection and the wisdom of this. And people have found the book that she plagiarized this from because she does give the like credit that this is from something else, but all the parts that she quoted, I don't know that all of it is in quotes, but it doesn't matter. It is what it is. And then she talks about all of her wisdom and my wisdom and with all of my repairs. Ma'am. And I hate when she starts talking about God. Ugh. And how forgiveness is invaluable. But I don't believe she's truly forgiven because later she's going to list the people that she says she's forgiven after blaming them for the situation she caused. She's going to say she's forgiven the world. The world? What is, ma'am, for me having to watch the videos of what you did to George? Thank you for, but like, you recording your crimes? Like, why? I don't understand. I don't owe her anything. And also, and that's where we talk about the fact that I don't hate her. It takes a lot of emotion to hate. I think she feels like she's been wronged and she's like so mad about all of these things and oh my gosh, and I don't she doesn't owe me a thing. Like, just don't do crimes and just stop making news. And I don't know, like, I can't with Sarah. And yet we continue. All right. And then so she's going to talk about all the things that she says George did and that I don't believe he actually did. Uh, Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold. But that's where it's like, is this self-forgiveness? Because you're the one that's on char that was found guilty of second-degree capital M. Like, you do need to change. You do need to show some humility. Like, you do need to have some compassion for others. I'll settle for that. You might have too much self-compassion because you enable all of this. Ugh, okay. Then she has the nerve to tell us. And so that's where this feels like gaslighting. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance. And the odd thing was George's mom had already said, in George's mom's statement, George's mom decided to forgive her. And that was her decision. And that's what she said. But I think that's so she can be free. And Sarah doesn't live rent free in her brain. Like, I agree, Kelly Alexander. It's a narcissist forgiveness where it's like, sh- w- what? Because these are all words. Because she hasn't actually changed, and I think that's what her submitting this full letter shows. She changed and learned nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. Like, it's just really that sad. It's just like, oh. And so I'm sometimes asked, and I'll make myself big again for this part. I'm sometimes asked if Sarah Boone was my client, why, how would I help her? What would be some of my first steps? And some of my first steps would be by session 2 or 3, we would have to start working on why she wanted, because I think she would come to therapy and complain about everybody else and how all the bad stuff that's happened to her and all the stuff that's gone wrong and how all of this is everybody else's fault. By session 2 or 3, we'd have to be like, wait a minute, let's focus on what you can do, what you feel, what you let's we gotta come back to that part. Some of this feels like you're puffing yourself up and it's a mask and that you don't act, I don't know. Cause there's a small part of me, because there's a good book by, I want to say his last name is Schwartz. Y'all know me in names, not great with names, but it's called No Bad Parts. And individuals like Sarah, there is a type of therapy called internal family systems because she has some strong defenders. Like, and that's where it's like, is there a part of you that truly does know and does accept you did something wrong? Richard Schwartz, thank you. I wanted to say like, there were other names going through my name, and Richard was not one of them. So thank you. Richard Schwartz did a phenomenal book. So it'll be like, is there a small part of you that does know and does accept like this was you? This was you were the one that should have unzipped the suit. You were the one that was there or that can admit you have a drinking problem because none of this talks about her drinking. Not a not a thing about her, in my opinion, alcohol. Well, she was diagnosed with alcohol use disorder. Nothing about that. Nothing about her narcissism. Nothing about any of those things. And so earlier the question was, why does she bestow forgiveness on all of us? And I think it's truly because she thinks like we need her validation, but she needs ours. She wants to stay in relevant. She wants to stay trending on YouTube and all that. Like that's what she wants. And in internal family systems, it has been helpful for people with narcissism, with all with personality disorders, because there are often these firefighters, these defensive parts, these wounded, hurt parts, and letting those parts speak and letting those healthier parts, letting that scared 12-year-old, like what does she really wanna say without being mean? Like, don't say it like, don't be mean. Sarah's mean, but she would just quit. She'd get mad and she just wouldn't come back, most likely. I don't know, like, and I don't do court ordered treatment, so, um, if I was the therapist for a case like this, um, I probably would get fired because there are other therapists that would just let her BS for an hour, just complaining ab huh? Yeah, tired. That would just let her go off. You're tired? No, okay. So just do your scratch. There are some therapists that would just let I did say that the person would fire me. You're right. I did say fired, but that's okay. I have a wait list. It would be fine. It wouldn't hurt me. It wouldn't hurt me financially at all. So, with a case like this, I truly think that there are some therapists that would just let them come in and just go on and on about nothing for weeks, months, years on end. And it wouldn't be helpful. Like she needs somebody to call her on her stuff. She needs somebody to set boundaries. And so I would be added to the list and to that therapist. So she doesn't say anything about the evaluators or the evaluator. Like she doesn't say anything about any of them. She doesn't say anything bad about Owens that I can remember or his team. She doesn't say thank you, I don't think either. Like she doesn't cuz I thought Dr. Harper stood up for her in ways that I wouldn't have. She hasn't changed. And I'm not a forensic psychologist, and so I don't do that. I wouldn't do that anyway, but, I wouldn't be involved in a case like this in that way anyway, but no, no. The Judge Cranick gave her exactly what she earned, in my opinion. Alright. Oh. And so, above all, when you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, when you give up your anger and cease from resentment, this is forgiveness. Ma'am, I need you to do all of this. I need for Sarah Paulson. I need for you to let go of blame. I need for you to stop making excuses. Excuses, I need for you to accept consequences and responsibility for your actions and the decisions that you made so you can heal and you can move forward as you serve life in prison for the rest of your life. Okay. I also thought it was interesting, and I don't think I talked about it, the fact that everybody that spoke on her behalf met her after she was sober. Every single person, not a single person spoke publicly. I think one of her brothers did write, probably the brother that is in, like, that has a security clearance. Uh, there were people that wrote in on her behalf, but anyone that spoke publicly met her once she was sober. Did the So who made up the thing Drunky the Bear? Was that the people in the community? Is that what they would call her? Because my understanding she was drunk in the morning. All right. We're gonna try to keep going. Oy. All right. And so she just all that stuff about George, and she tries to blame him for making her drink, which I don't believe. That's like me trying to blame somebody for making me eat cookies, and I love cookies. Like I what? No, like she needs to take responsibility for her actions, but she just won't. She just won't. She's blaming the person she unalived for causing her trauma. I just can't. I just can't. And forgiving his oh my gosh, I just can't. Social media is the thing that made her a pariah, not her actions. Social media made me a pariah, but not what I did. Oh my gosh. Cookies are great. We bought cookies. So I don't know. So y'all, next week, oh my gosh. I think I might go live on Tuesday during the day. We'll see. I have some paperwork to catch up on. I definitely won't be live next Saturday. And then we have Christmas Eve. We'll see. Like y'all just stay tuned to the things for what we do. We do need to celebrate 1,000 concurrent people, so we're going to do that. Thank y'all for everybody watching. Please like the video. We're going to keep going. Just I got that from who was it? It's Natalie Lawyer Chick. She celebrates 1,000 live concurrent viewers. All right. What in the world? But social media, they're the ones that have made her the pariah. Okay. Not her actions. My gold runs deep. Oh, this is the part. For my prior attorneys, Mauricio Padilla, who sold me the world with empty promises, then abandoned his responsibilities as my attorney after taking 2.5 years of my life. Now, ma'am, you took 2.5 years of his like work. Like he worked on your case for 2.5 years. It's my understanding. I think he was the one that got Dr. Harper on board. They were they were close to trial and he was ready, and then something happened and he asked to withdraw. I'm thinking it was something with Sarah. I think she knew it wasn't there were going to be issues. And I think she probably didn't like that she wasn't getting her way. I personally feel that she dragged her case out on purpose. I think she did not want to go to trial. I think she knew that there was a good chance that she was going to be um found guilty. So Tanika did a great video covering some of the issues. So Brian actually he did not because I had heard somewhere there were a bunch of rumors. So Brian never paid for an attorney. So but Tanika's 2 cents, she did a great video clearing up all of the rumors and things with Brian. So check out Tanika's 2 cents for that one. All right. I don't think she wanted to go to trial. And I think these were all stall tactics because I think if she had kept Patricia Cashman, I think Patricia Cashman was one of her best attorneys. I think Miss Cashman was going to set boundaries with her. I think she was going to be prepared for trial. I think she would have put on a strong defense. And there's a chance that Sarah might have been found guilty of manslaughter. I was really worried until the state got to their rebuttal case. I was concerned that the jury was going to feel sorry for her and she was only going to be found guilty of manslaughter. And then we saw the rebuttal videos and it was like second nope. I slept so good that night because I did not sleep very well when the defense rested. Once again, I mentioned it before. I didn't realize how invested I had gotten into this case because I was really, really worried. And but then it's my understanding people in the courtroom said after th- the prosecution played those rebuttal videos and read through those text messages that the jurors stopped looking at her. And I understood why. The state asked all of the DV experts, would it be like would the person causing harm would like what if the other person took away their documents? Like would this be a sign of DV if you're withholding their birth certificate, their driver's license, if you lock them out, if you berate emotionally are just telling them you don't love them and all these things, would that be a sign? And all the experts were like, yeah, yeah, that would be horrible. And we had never seen or heard any of that until those rebuttal videos. And that just sealed the case. Like it was just it was done. It was done. Sarah Sarah Adams, I can't with you. I can't. Um all right. Okay. So, finally realizing he was in over his head all while hoarding JAC dollars when if he did accept money from JAC, it probably wasn't like two and a half because I think he's a very well paid attorney. Like because JAC has a cap of what they pay for to fund his staycations with his family when in town from Miami, for having resources ready and available, not allowing me, the client, to ever utilize, which and that's where like did she want to have the private investigator do specific stuff or something? Like that's where I wonder if she was asking for things that weren't appropriate because that would not surprise me. Greatly progressed my case and perhaps concluded only for him to decide water parks, fine dining, and choice hotels were more important and on JAC's dime. And I don't think he charged JAC for any of those things. He's a very well-paid attorney. I forgive. And so that's where like when she says the word forgiveness and once again, this is not forgiveness, okay? Like this is vengeful slaps in the face. That's what this is, okay? This is not forgiveness. This is not what forgiveness looks like, okay? Forgiveness, once again, is writing it in your journal, keeping it between you and your therapist. You don't submit this to the judge because a lot of these are lies too, in my opinion. Because she accuses these attorneys of things that could like put their license at risk, and it's none of it's true, and that's why they asked to come off her case. Because they could deal with her being difficult, but then when it gets to the point where she starts name calling, where she invents pretend judge to like Miss Cashman, who's been doing this for years and years, like she's a child and needs the parent to come in for her to not have a snotty attitude. When could you imagine trying to sit with Sarah Boone for 3 hours? Her calling you collect and you accepting her collect calls, knowing that you will never get reimbursed for those calls. Like, can you just imagine all that she put these people through? But she's like, I forgive Frank Bankowitz for committing perjury, which I don't believe he did, to the judge and the court record about my attempts to be a proactive defendant and client, inquiring about my discovery, then trying to communicate with no answer or correspondence in any manner for 1 full year and 2 months. And I think there was evidence that, like, he was communicating with her and like, it just wasn't exactly the way she wanted. And that's where I don't know if it was I forget if it was Bankowitz or Hobson, but somebody said she will never be satisfied. Like, she will she will never, no attorney, no one attorney, unless she's their only case, she's just never gonna be satisfied. And it took a whole team of people for her to be satisfied and for her to be able to do whatever she wanted. That's when she was like, "I'm very happy." Okay. My gosh. All right. Before I was able to finally meet with him in the courtroom, only to receive his motion to withdraw. Frank Bakowitz is forgiven for his greed in taking $15,000 from the which he earned. He working on your case for a year and 2 months, because that's where some of the work an attorney does on a case is behind it. It's not always with the client. Like, it's going through depositions, writing motions, it's doing like, and she wanted to be there every step of the way. That's what she wanted. She wanted to be equals with her attorney, where we are collaborating on everything, every step of the way, which is not reasonable. She's not a reasonable person, in my opinion, and probably all of our opinions, but okay. All right. From the JAC, who honorably aid indigent indigent defendants as myself for taking advantage of and wow, robbing the justice system by lying and avoiding clients, taking their money. It's not your money, ma'am. He didn't take any money from you. And it's all lies. Okay. Winston Hobson receives my forgiveness. This is not forgiveness. This is a slap in the face. This is like almost like, mm, I don't want to use the word slander, but that's what it feels like. Who also un who also unethically perjured himself to the judge and on court record about all the progress and attorney work he did in my case for the 2 months he was court appointed. As for his allegations of my supposed unethical requests, which meant me asking about my discovery and trying to have him file a motion for my lawful inclusion to my pretrial conferences cited under that rule. I want, and she underlines when she wants to emphasize things. I wanted to be included in my case, and no progress from being excluded by Bankowitz and Padilla over 3 years prior. And I don't believe she was excluded at all. Forgiveness also in telling me he would return in a week with my discovery, only to receive his motion to withdraw in the meantime, still not receiving my discovery and filing my own motion, mm, abling me to go to all my hearings, including my pretrials. Okay. So she feels like she's the one that got that done because she wrote that motion to the judge. Okay. continued forgiveness in his greed and selfish interactions, also for robbing the JAC and indigent defendants of $15,000. More for nothing, justifying any work he really did. And that's what meeting with her for 1 hour, you should get $15,000. Like, I think anyone that had to touch her case, $15,000, more than enough. You had to take an hour phone call with her, $15,000. Go ahead and max out the allowable. You touched her case, go on ahead. I think, yeah. I'm glad there was nothing inappropriate. It doesn't seem like there was anything inappropriate because to me it seemed like she was giving her um what's the guy? Her private investigator googly eyes. But I think I think she tries to manipulate people by getting them to like her that way. And she doesn't appreciate anything. Except I think she does appreciate Owens, but he did it for free. And he went above and beyond, above and beyond. So she brings it out. She earns every ounce of snark. Like, 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 how can you read these words and not be like she earns every ounce of snark. And she was found guilty. So before I had to hold some things back because she was innocent until proved, she's guilty. A jury of her peers found her guilty. And there are kids in the room. She's a whiny little bee. Like, she's just and like just go away, and she won't. There are probably going to be more letters. I hope we don't see them, but we probably will. I kind of would. So if they released her phone calls, I would listen to them. I probably wouldn't cover them, but I would definitely. I've I've seen multiple people read this. So I saw Uncivil Law. I saw Tanika read it. I saw Emily D. Baker read it. I know Lori Reese. I know she read it as well. Um I don't like her. I don't like her at all. She's not my client. So that's why I can say all these things. Like, she's I don't know her, but everything I know of her makes me feel that all those words are true. So I guess in my opinion, she's a whiny little bee. In my opinion. Yep, a buzzy bee.
But bees are painful.
Yeah. Yeah, bees can be painful. And he's thinking of a bumblebee.
Yeah.
Okay. Can a narcissist ever become self-aware and make changes in their behavior? Love your channel. Welcome, welcome. So I am going to find the channel of somebody that's a self-described narcissist that has said that they do their work. I do not know him personally. So I do not know if he has done his work or not. But Lee, his channel is Mental Healness, and Lee Hammock. I found his channel on TikTok, and he has a YouTube, and he talks about recovering from narcissism, so being clinically diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, and he gives people tips and tools for. All right, so let's get back to her. Oh, but treating narcissism. Often the people that come in for treatment are the children. I've worked with children and teens of a parent with some of these traits. I've also worked with spouses or ex-spouses of people with these types of traits. Those are the people that are most likely to come to treatment, or something has to happen in their life. Sometimes people with personality disorders can abuse substances, and that's a bad combination. Because imagine, like, this is Sarah sober. Sober. Sober, she makes these horrible decisions. Can you imagine her under the influence? Like, so because I do think she could benefit from some, because substances, she would have a dual diagnosis, because and dual diagnosis would be like somebody that could treat the personality and the substances. And being able to treat both would be important, because I think she used the alcohol to cope. And so I still don't think she copes well. I don't think she copes well. And so, like, she frantically writes. Like, she's addicted to letters, she's addicted to her opinion, thinking we should give a D. Like, what? Like, no. Like, and she doesn't take any responsibility. Like, she's addicted to the rage. Like, this fuels her and feeds her. This, like, in a weird way, like, it's like her brain seeks chaos and drama. And but, like, I guess because the people that knew her in prison, they say that she, like, helped out, she volunteered in the chapel, but I kinda think she had some God complex stuff. She does come off sadistic to me, she just does, and in my opinion, she seems to use people for what they can do for her. Definitely comfortable in chaos. Definitely comfortable. She seems to thrive in the midst of chaos. Now she did okay, because she wasn't so seeking chaos that as the trial went on, she was completely appropriate. Oh, yes, and, Tanika reads her, behavior notes, so Sarah Boone's behavior notes when she, refuses breakfast in the morning and all those things. Um If she had been acquitted, I do suspect she would have went back to drinking. She would have attempted to get a relationship with her child back, and in my opinion, I don't know that she's a safe person, and I don't know her, so, like, just my personal thoughts, I would have concerns about her, because it sounds like her communications with her son is trying to berate him to get information about dad. So sometimes people like her, they create these triangles where they try to get you on their side against the other person, because I think her son needs to be safely attached to his father. And I think for her, it's like choose me or him. Like, I don't know that she likes him have like her child having a relationship with his father. Like, I think she wants to be the one. I think she wants to be that that mother, but I don't think she actually wanted to be a mom. In my personal thoughts, I think she probably dreaded, regretted, like I don't know that she liked the aspect of being a mom where you're always on duty. And that's hard. So as a mom, I had to find my like womanhood again. So the first year after having a baby, the first year was hard. And I nursed for the first year, and so that added, I did not sleep well that first year. And I started to kind of get back to me starting that second year. 3-year-olds 3-year-olds have all the emotions and language, but no logic. And they are supposed to have big emotions over the smallest things, and they need adults to ground them. Um, Not a chance in the world that she's getting a single dime of that 15,000. And also, this isn't the appropriate, she wouldn't submit this to the judge. The judge doesn't have the ability. JAC controls the budget. She would have to submit that to JAC, and JAC doesn't pay defendants to defend themselves. Like, that's not that. So the JAC gave her the private defender. They gave her all of those other things, that they paid all of that money to have all those copies made and provided her with her discovery. They did all of those. You can't get paid to be your own defender. Like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. And so, no. And so I don't know that she ever recovered, and I don't think she likes caring for people in the way they need. I think she likes to care for people in a way that makes them dependent on her and that makes them need her and want her, But the minute she's not getting the validation she needs, I think she can turn on them. Because it's my understanding, based on the people in the complex, she was described as a pretty uninvolved parent. Her ex talked about the reason why he was calling her that morning was to confirm, are you picking up our child? Because she wasn't consistent. There were times she didn't do it. You couldn't rely on her. You couldn't depend on her. But she'll never admit that. And ugh. Okay, we're gonna try to keep going. All right. Finally, and with all my gold received from this one. So it's almost like she's trying to say that the like all the bad stuff, like she's now the shimmery gold because of these bad things, using the word forgiveness wrong, but she's saying, I forgive Patricia Cashman for her mean, snotty, egotistical attitude. Project much. Do you see the words you are writing? Because to me, Sarah can be mean and snotty. And to Miss Cashman probably just said, please don't talk to me in that tone. I'm not a child. We're not gonna do this. No, we need to stay on track. Like I could see her thinking that was being mean and not listening or caring that I finally received my discovery. And Miss Cashman's thing was, ma'am, I've seen the discovery and your handwriting is on it. You have seen this before. Why do you want me to give this to you again? Because she was looking for something and it wasn't in there. Whatever, I don't know if it was the video of him smashing the TV, which still I feel she asked him to smash the TV. If my child was destroying property, I would not I would not take out my phone and quietly record. Like I wouldn't record it. I would be sitting here like I would intervene, ask him to stop. Or if I was recording somebody damaging my property, you would hear me saying, stop. What are you doing? I can't believe you're doing this. Like I would be saying something. And before that video, like at the beginning of that video, he says, you're going to help me clean this up. I think she told him to do it. I just think she did, but okay. I kept asking for, which she fully withheld from me. But okay. I don't know that she's entitled to see every ounce of her discovery. I don't know that she is, but I mean, I don't, yeah, I'm not a lawyer. Citing her ridiculous, and she spelled it wrong, ridiculous, not ridiculous, ridiculous. Let's see. Untrue reasons was because I saw with my first attorney, which it seemed like she did 4 years prior. And while she being my present at that time attorney, I saw not one page of or any digital evidence of my discovery she prohibited me from seeing, which I don't oh my gosh, poor Miss Cashman. And she's the one they bring in with difficult clients. And even she was like, this she invented a pretend judge. Like she's accusing me of things. She's focused on bail and we're about to go to trial. No, you're not going to get bail and we're months away from trial. Your brother won't agree to like come and talk to you publicly because it could affect his job, which as a person who's charged with a crime, now convicted, you should have some empathy for. And she doesn't. She doesn't have, she just doesn't. But okay, that's a whole other conversation. Patricia Cashman is also forgiven for admitting I had a right to bond I asked for, but your brother wouldn't speak on your behalf. So I could actually utilize one of my rights as opposed to having them always violated as prior and still ongoing. Then her deference. That's what I've heard people get stuck on this word. I think it's deference. I don't know, of all my opportunities to do so. For all her lies, condescension, gross, unnecessary arguments, and anger. For that part, my question would be, Sarah, what did you do? Before When you felt Miss Cashman showed some anger, what happened before that? Before she raised her voice. What happened before that? Before that. Cuz I need to get to the part cuz Sarah did something. Now, should lawyers get angry and but like I guarantee you Sarah did something. Hey, equality. Hey, hey. I guarantee you. I guarantee you Sarah did something. I just know she did. I just know. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. And the chat's been okay. I don't know that we need so we're good in the chat. Sarah, if you had to head out, that's you live your life. You're good. All right. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, that I asked any questions. I don't know that it was anger that she asked any question. It was probably specific things and wanted to understand. But when Sarah's not hearing what she wants to hear, she feigns ignorance. Like, your brother has to agree to come and speak publicly. He told me he would. I talked to him. He said he won't. Well, he told me he would. You get him on the phone. You tell him. But no, just file. I'll make we we can't like this is going to be a waste of time if we do this. And I don't know what happened in their meeting. Miss Cashman she is so respectful, and the judge specifically asked her what did she do that was unethical, and Sarah couldn't come up with like anything that actually raised the level of being unethical. And I just because if something had happened, Sarah would have said it, but nothing happened. Nothing happened. This was just another game. These are the games she plays because she needs control. We haven't talked about that yet. Sarah desperately needs to be in control. And this was her last move. So remember when I said Judge Kranek did the like life? Remember, I told y'all we were playing spades. We're playing spades. And my family, when you have the biggest joker, you put it on your head and then you put down that card because I just won the book. Bam, I won the game. And she thinks this is her slamming down a card, but to me this makes her look bad. This is not good. This is not good. But I see more narcissism, so I don't see histrionic. So I think this is for sometimes when we say histrionic, some people feel like that's for attention, but she's trying to get back. This is her vengefulness. To me, my personal thoughts, because sometimes women get overdiagnosed, especially women that are exhibiting signs of narcissism. Some people want to say it's his. So sometimes there can be gender bias when it comes to that. I didn't assess her. I can't say whether she has that diagnosis or not. But I just get a whole lot of narcissism from her. That's just my own personal thoughts. All right. Good gosh. Poor Miss Cashman. I still once again think Miss Cashman would have been the best attorney, her best hope at getting less than life. And she ruined it. Sarah did this. It's Sarah, and she'll never admit. She'll never admit. So she ends with, I forgive Patricia Cashman for being a liar and a bully. I skipped over some of it because it's more of the same. And then we get to forgiveness for all those who did not include me to receive my $15,000 share I worked for when Judge Kranek forced me to be my own attorney. But like that's not an option. When you go pro se, lawyers are entitled. Like, could you imagine if we gave defendants $15,000 for representing themselves? So remember, I think Sarah Boone wants to go down in history as the defendant that got the most ever. From like now she's demanding $15,000 and it's just what? What? And I think a person can be strong without being vindictive, mean, a bully, sadistic, vengeful. Did I already say that one? I probably did. Without doing all of this. So I'm a very assertive person. I consider myself to be a strong woman. I do not take crap from people. Um, but I wouldn't like this is a mess. This is a mess. If for some reason I had to speak to an attorney, um I would have some humility knowing they're the expert in law. I know what I would like as the outcome. And but our level of collaboration is not going to be as equals cuz I don't know the law. They know the law. I can ask questions, but and that's where so she was diagnosed with alcohol use disorder and narcissistic traits, okay? So within narcissism, there can be some emotion cuz when she's getting her way, she doesn't have a tantrum. So with intermittent explosive disorder, there generally wouldn't be a trigger in my understanding, okay? So I think it's narcissism. That's just what I think. I don't know. I didn't assess her. So she was assessed by 2 psychologists, and neither one diagnosed her with intermittent explosive disorder. She was diagnosed with alcohol use disorder by both and PTSD by one. And sometimes with PTSD, there can be this fight or flight mode, there can be trauma responses. I don't personally feel that's what's happening here because um her constant state of needing to be the victim, she harms people as she needs to be the victim and then claims to be victimized. That's the she slaps you and then wants you to ask for her forgiveness for making her slap you. And it's like, ma'am, you aren't you aren't the harmed party here. Yes. Gotta replace forgiveness with hate. Hate for all those. Like you can't just say this word and like words have meaning and this is not forgiveness. This is hate, rage, contempt, all of those words. And so all right, I actually and finally got my own discovery almost 5 years later, filed motions, which I mean some of them she did okay, some of them was a bit of a struggle. Should have done, making them the most expensive motions ever at over $46,000 between the 3 prior attorneys. But her prior attorneys did a lot of work and they filed just motions. The little thing she did, she didn't do anything major in my thoughts and opinions, but okay. Owens really did help her. Um, and she's saying she honorably utilized her JAC resources and mentorship. Mentorship was somebody mentoring her as a proactive indigent defendant, avidly defending myself against the liars, thieves, and real villains in my criminal case. At least your criminal case you were convicted of. Who really is the criminal? Sarah Sarah. Sarah Paulson, Sarah Boone.
Yeah, that's the criminal.
That's the criminal. The JAC can hopefully include their forgiveness for them also? Like why does the so like she projects that the JAC needs to forget what? They had a whole hearing and they were granted that money. They earned that money and what? Oh my gosh. Okay. Judge Wooten and Kranick, I have great hate. It says forgiveness, but that's not what she means. For also in not protecting me and listening to my valid reasons for for judicial intervention so I could properly and fairly defend myself against my charges. You got Owens and that whole team of people. Instead, I had to defend myself against the attorneys, all appointed by the judge and court, except for Owens, against their lies and exaggerations, reasons unjustifiable why they were really creeping away from the battlefield and abandoning their professional duty as my attorney. But that's where the judge tried to explain to her you can't tell the attorney what to do. Like you can give input, but you can't make them do things. And she did not like that. Okay. She's coming back to Judge Cranick, and I don't know why. But because this is the original one that she wrote, that Owens appropriately was like, hey, don't say this part. Show some effing remorse, Sarah. Like, it's my understanding that he said something to the effect of that to her. That's my understanding based on somebody that was in court. But Judge Cranick, I forgive you but I hate Judge Cranick. I hate you for not giving me any opportunity to stand at your pulpit. She had multiple opportunities to explain. He, it's on record. And that's why, because this letter means nothing. Because we have the video. We saw him ask her what happened. What did they do? Specifically, you're saying Patricia Cashman lied. What did she lie about? And I think she said something about bond, but it wasn't a lie. Like, her brother wouldn't agree to speak publicly. So it wasn't a lie. Ugh. But he probably didn't want to tell her that because he didn't want to make her mad. Because when you tell her no, she gets mad. All right. We're going to keep going. Oh, how close are we? 16 of 28. So, but I think the last few pages are just, oh my gosh. Okay. For being spread so thin and simply sending an email to care about their present workload, number of clients, trial schedules already in place before throwing another inmate defendant, unknowing client on the heaping, unimportant pile of warm bodies. Like, I wonder if she wanted to be a writer. Y'all, I wonder if Sarah wanted to be a writer. If she ever does write a book to the Torres family, please sue her civilly if she ever makes a dime. If she ever makes a dime, please, please, please sue her civilly. And I don't give legal advice. It's just a general thought from a person. Okay. Oh my gosh. My forgiveness but hate is deepened for taking even greater time of mine away years by not caring to ask me anything about anything to understand, so you could just fully render your life defining judgments and withhold any more bias and prejudice. They weren't biased, especially Judge Cranick. Judge Cranick was not. Foremost, Judge Cranick, I forgive you, but I hate you for kicking me when I was down. And whoa, see, like, she starts accusing people of stuff. I don't want to say those words. So she feels her constitutional rights were violated, her right to free speech. Nobody told her she was able to speak in all of her letters and all those things, but you are free to speak and you are also available for consequences. So yes, if you call your lawyer a buffoon, tell me in the chat. I thought she called somebody a buffoon, or like she called him some name. She called one of her lawyers a derogatory name. And he was currently her active lawyer. And he asked to come off the case. She has no chill. It was Bankowitz. She called him a buffoon. A dud. She also called him a dud. I thought it was a buffoon and a dud. It is like, Sarah, you are free to speak. And then Bankowitz is free to say, ethically, like, I can't defend somebody who publicly calls me a buffoon. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And I've gotten a lot of inspiration from Tanika. Everybody has read it very dramatically, and I appreciate it. Yeah. So you haven't read it? Yeah. It's not a letter for kids. All right. Oh my gosh. All right. And so she goes on and on. To this day, and all forward. I do not forfeit my rights, any of them. But like she needed, I don't know why she felt she needed to put that down. As a proud citizen of the United States of my America. United States of my America. That doesn't feel right. Mm, nope. And all is forgiven, but she all is vengeful, mad, not little, big mad. All is big mad at everybody for everything. Yes, I forgot about this part. For detectives, Copsel and Lowen, I forgive their demonization, lies. See, that's where I hate you for your demonization, lies, blacklisting, coercion, law breaking, solicitation of my case before I even arrive at the corrections department to be booked and fingerprinted. But it's like you were the only one there. You recorded the video. You recorded and you said it was not intentional. And Lowen appropriately said, that doesn't mean like that doesn't mean anything. Like not intentional. That doesn't mean anything. And then she's going to get mad that they didn't like look for some evidence of her alleged harm, but she said it was a good day. Why would they look for any of that? When the butcher knife, the garden, like, but you said it was a good day. You weren't claiming self-defense. And even if it was, but like in that moment, it wasn't like she said in that moment he had had something and I defended myself, but like how is not unzipping somebody from a suitcase? That's not self-defense. It's just not. It's not. That's
It's not like self.
defense.
Mhm.
It's not self-defense. And so, all is forgiven. This is not forgiveness. Prosecutors, Mr. J and Mr. Cacciatore, who did a phenomenal job on this case. Thank you, Mr. J. Thank you, Mr. Cacciatore. Y'all did a phenomenal job putting up with all of the nonsense for all of this time. Such a phenomenal job. And then she has some words for y'all as well. For your inappropriate attributed motives, she's probably mad that they told the truth. For having to go through years of my pictures, videos, texts to erroneously piece together your deceitful, damning version of what really happened and who I am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Sarah, right here. Mimi, Sarah. Not you, Sarah Adams, the other Sarah.
Yeah.
I
Sarah
think
Boone.
you're mad that you recorded what you did and we all knew what you meant, because there's a small part of me that thinks that she told George to get in the suitcase. And that would have been first degree. She should be glad she wasn't charged with first degree, because she said something to the effect weeks before, it was that text message about getting rid of him or something. And she said something about like, I think she said something about hide and seek, or I don't know. She said weird stuff. I had no knowledge when this case started. I didn't know that it was his suitcase. I think he wanted to leave. And I think she said, if you go, you get in that suitcase. I'll, I'll, I, I think they were arguing. I think they were having a fight. I think he wanted to leave. And I think she told him. I don't know this for sure. This is my thing. Okay. This is my thing. But I think so what they said, I think, was the nicest version of what could have happened, because I think it could have been way worse. I think it was way more sinister. I think it was way worse than what we actually know. And only George, who sadly isn't here, I think he's the only one that knows. So it depends on So sometimes some people will never admit. So do I think Sarah Boone will ever acknowledge, like, so that would be between her and a therapist, but the person would have to be safe. So Sarah in this state, in my personal thoughts, I don't think she's a safe partner. I don't think she's a safe person. I think she love bombs. I think the whole offering the woman the kidney and all of that, like, I think she can put on a mask. I think because even in the court, she tries to smile at the officers and she tries to be kind, but it's because the other side can come out later. Like, she's a Jekyll and Hyde kind of person. And she doesn't take responsibility for any of it, and she doesn't appear to respond to consequences. So there's some people that get a consequence like this and they're like, "Oh, maybe I should make a change." She's out for revenge. And I don't think.
Out for revenge.
My kid likes the bad guys in movies.
Yes.
Oh, so somebody said she was a low risk?
Revenge.
She, so to me, the type of person that would be a low risk to do this again is somebody that admitted it and that doesn't still think that they're the victim. So she doesn't see how she was the instigator. She doesn't see how she had a duty when he said, "I can't breathe." She had a duty to free him from the prison that she had zipped him into. Like, I just can't. So somebody asked, "Does Sarah Boone really not qualify?" So the evaluators didn't see the videos we saw. So the evaluators did not see the state's rebuttal case. So I was saying traits until I saw the state's rebuttal case. He loved my co-host. He's super happy to be in here. And because there are some cases that he can't overhear the words for stuff. But he is really happy to be in the office while I do this today. Um uh and I think she blacked out, and I don't know that she remembered recording all, but I think she would sometimes rewatch those videos. Okay, so imagine she knew those videos were on her phone, but when she watches the videos of what she did to George, she sees it only from her perspective of, "Oh, he shouldn't have said that to me. He shouldn't have done that to me." He's like, she only sees it from her perspective. So when I see the videos of what she did to George, I see that he's the victim. My heart breaks for him. My heart wants to tell him, "You deserve better. Leave, run. This is not good for you." When I see him sitting on the bed with, like, talking to the officer, and the officer just trying, like, "Man, I know she called you back, but then she called us and told us you were here, violating the court order." And, like, I feel bad for him. But I think she watches it, and I think she feels bad for herself. And so, there's a lot of work that would have to happen. Um, and so somebody said, "I shudder to think how she treated her son." And it's my understanding from Brian that she was not consistent and that her drinking got worse after she had their child. And she would stay out at bars. She wouldn't come, she would be out. I think before they divorced, I think she brought George to, like, the marital home, and like, she doesn't respect boundaries. And it's just, oof. Um, and so, because somebody said it's almost like she dissociates from her own actions in an odd form of denial. And what it is it's protective of her ego, but in a way that to me makes her could make the rest of us unsafe. She's the type of person that is driving down the road and is distracted, and runs into a parked car and then is mad that, the car is parked in a legit space where cars are allowed to, like, she's the type of person that just won't accept when she's done something wrong. I've never heard her take responsibility for anything. But so her doing all that drama with Padilla, Bankowitz, Hobson, and Miss Cashman, her doing all of that, she ended up with a phenomenal legal team. She ended up with a team of lawyers. Now, I think Owens was kinda, because one of the lawyers, I didn't think he was as great at I don't know. I didn't One of them I wasn't a big fan of, but that's alright. That was just my personal thoughts. She ended up with They had legal assistants, they had all of this, they had all like, she ended up with this phenomenal team, and, like, she ended up losing her right to a public defender because of her actions, and Owens felt bad for her. Excuse me. And so, Oy. Because do y'all think that she'll admit that some of the things she said to George's family was downright racist? Like, she would say things about, like, I don't know, something to the effect there was, because they're Puerto Rican. Puerto Rico is a US territory. Like, because she was talking to him like he was I don't know, like, she was talking to him in a weird way, like he wasn't a US citizen. It's like she considered him to be a second class citizen. And I personally feel she used her privilege as a woman, because in a DV situation, sometimes people automatically think the man is the one that's wrong. And the one, like, how could the, because she plays a good victim, but until you dig a little deeper into what she's done. Um there was a question. Do you think she knew she was risking everything to protect her ego by not accepting the 15-year sentence? So, the 15-year sentence also required her to accept responsibility. So I think it was Cacciatore. I think it was Cacciatore that said, in order for her to get the 15-year sentence, she had to admit what she did, and she wouldn't do it. So I don't know that it was just the 15 years. I think it was also her refusing to accept responsibility. She won't do it, and that's a problem. And so the state said it was not just accepting the sentence, it was also her accepting responsibility. Thank you for the super sticker. Um, like, she was playing the victim, and it's super, super sad. I am so the content creator in me is, and also, like, she got life. Like, but George's mom had never seen the suitcase video until closing. Um, those videos, we could have been spared, because if she hadn't claimed self-defense. Because to me, I think what proved her depraved heart, her depraved mind, was the state's rebuttal case. Like, that was the strongest evidence. But the state's rebuttal case only comes in if she claims self-defense. I So remember, she lacks insight. She doesn't see things the way we see them. So, like, she looks at this painting. So this painting behind me, some people might see cherry blossoms, but almost, I think all of us, I think we could all agree that this painting behind me is flowers, is a tree. Sarah looks at this and she sees, I don't know, like, she sees a house. I don't like she sees something that, like, none of nobody, like, it's like, are we looking at the same picture? Like, ma'am, like, no, like, this is bad for you. And so her and Owens had two big arguments. Okay. So her and Owens had two arguments that were so loud, they are documented in her behavior charts. Okay. You see Japan, and that's, so I think of Japan when I think of cherry blossoms. Oh, uncivil law. You might think like Sarah Boone. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Think like Sarah Boone.
Yes, you don't. And so with this, I think I lost my train of thought because I got off track. uh, Rochelle, I agree. The main reason she wouldn't accept the deal, her ego wouldn't let her. She had to prove herself right. So, and there was a chance that she could have gotten off. Rebuttal was everything. Like, and I think the state, I think did Cacciatore and Jay and Mr. J, did they want her to claim self-defense? Like her claiming self-defense sealed their case. Like it was like when she claimed self-defense, they're like, "Bet we we got we got all this because those things don't come in prior bad acts. That stuff doesn't come in if she doesn't claim self-defense." But she claimed self-defense and oh yeah, so her and Owens got into two big arguments. The first one was I think when she denied the when and Tanika's 2 cents has the jail stuff, has those on her channel, but uh before the night because their argument was so bad, Sarah called Owens and she probably groveled. Like she was like, I promise. She probably said, I'm guessing, I won't write any letters to the judge. I trust you, but I need to be involved every step of the way. And okay, we're gonna claim self-defense. Okay. Like something happened in the phone because I think Owens was probably mad that she didn't accept the deal. He tried to help her negotiate the deal. And then I think the night of rebuttal, her and Owens got into it again. Because I don't know if Owens wants to go back to the state and be like, hey, those 15 years, what about 20, 15, 20 years? Like, can we talk? Uh, and a lot of people are talking about Dr. Harper. So Dr. Harper is a defense expert. She is, I think, only called by the defense. And Sarah claims to have PTSD. Like she says a whole bunch of stuff. To me, she doesn't show signs of PTSD. Um, the Ashley Benefield case, when Ashley Benefield had to reenact what she did, the terror and fright, like the she looked afraid. She was still convicted, but Sarah Boone, like it was like it was a Tuesday. It was like it was just another day. She's reenacting the crime. Like, oh yeah. And then, oh no. Like his head's here, they're here. She didn't I work with people with PTSD. I work with complex trauma, so childhood trauma. I work with a lot of different things. She did not seem to show signs of PTSD to me. The state expert did say, based on the records, based on what she said happened, and we have is what she said, that she could have been the victim of DV, but in that instance, she was mad. She was mad. And when she's mad, she gets a little murdery. Like she gets a little, and so I think she's exactly where she needs to be. And super, super. Oh, and so and Dr. Harper, I thought came across very credible, but like because she admitted when the state was on rebuttal that yes, somebody taking someone's documents, somebody doing all those things, yes, that could also be a sign of DV. Um, she didn't flinch or like this is the exact place where George died, and she showed not an ounce of remorse or anything. Um, and she didn't look dissociated because I've worked with people that seem kind of emotionally detached or disconnected. Like she just seemed, yeah. And so it's a whole thing. Yes. Yeah, Dr. Harper never saw, and also the state's expert never saw all of that other stuff. And so, all right. Uh, let's finish this letter. I'm going to skip ahead because at the end, I forgive your antics, theatrics. Oh, she got mad about the Star Wars reference. Where was that? Where was that part? Where was that part? Oh, because she talked about there's space. There's oh, there we go. For the yelling finger point. I don't. They didn't yell. They didn't yell at all. For the yelling, finger pointing, and intense under underlying. I don't know something to for underlining. She underlines all the time. If that's underlining, she has some nerve talking about somebody's intense underlining. To force your theatrics and fanatics on the jury by using imaginary space adventures and fictional characters to blind and bedazzle them with your far, far away from the truth yeah. How dare she? When her lawyer is the one with like 6 foot, like these huge pictures of her bruises, trying to tell the jury that she's the victim. Like she has some nerve talking about somebody being dramatic. Like I can't. I can't. And all of your piece together productions, I forget, I hate. I forgive you most for never seeing the light in people. The prosecution does not have to see your light. That is what? What? Their human goodness, humor, and big hearts. She is funny, but not in a good way. Like she's not in a laugh with her way. Like, ma'am, like we're not like I see your humor, but I don't think it's the way you think. Like it's the nerve, the audacity. Did somebody call her demure and murdery or something? I don't know. Like somebody called her something. Mhm. I remember and yeah, sorry. Yeah, we'll talk off screen. Um, see the good that does exist and all. But like we don't have to see what? Show me something good. Like these are your words. And so that's what people with narcissistic traits, narcissistic features, what they will do is they will say a good game, but then their behavior, it's like you said this, but your behavior or like the way she's saying it is very gaslighty. It's very mm, vengeful, angry, middle school. That's what it's given me. But all right. My gold goes out to the jury. What? What? For not understanding my cracks, from being blinded from the injustice and malpractice and all of the judicial and prosecutor, that word, errors, the very apparent violations of my constitutional rights. No, that'll be up for appeal. In my opinion, none of her rights were violated. I forgive the jury, truly, for being weary from this confusion and dysfunction. Also from being hungry and tired. I think she was hungry and tired. I don't think the jury was well rested and well fed. The jury was well taken care of. And she's going to say wanting to go home to their families after being away from, and so it wasn't 2 full weeks. And they weren't sequestered. They went home every night. I understand, but she doesn't understand. Like that's if she understood, her mouth would be shut. She doesn't understand, and that's why we're seeing all of this. From this and their brash, misguided, corrupted decisions, I was wrongfully judged a capital M instead of a survivor. No, no, no. You were the words you said, and he did not survive your harm. He was the one that needed somebody to stand up and protect him, not you. She was the one with the money, with the place to live, with the documents. She's gonna say he took her keys. She's gonna say he forced her to drink. And he didn't force her to drink. Now, sometimes he might have brought because they liked. I think their drink of choice was vodka. I think, and there's a term for it. Um, and so it's just, I just can't. I just can't with them. All right, but we're gonna try. We're gonna try. I didn't lose. God just wanted me to win in a different way. Don't put this on God. She needs to keep God's name out of her mouth. Freedom and forgiveness. This is not forgiveness.
Yeah.
This is not forgiveness.
Vengefulness.
It's vengefulness. 1 point for you.
Right.
Yay. In the end, I forgive myself for not choosing my life sooner. And if this is your idea of choosing your life,
What was it?
for being
Vengeful.
hopeless, desperate, simple-minded, weak, and inexperienced, I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring. No, she was the one causing the harm.
Yeah.
Oh, I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. And also, like, you shouldn't put your hands on other people too. And if they're in a situation they can't get out, you should help them, especially if you put them there. I forgive myself for not escaping permanent. But like, oh my gosh, I just can't.
Forgive yourself for all
Mhm.
the harm that you did.
And she's the monster, not
Yeah.
him.
Yep.
He was not the monster. Because the only video she could find of him trying, like her idea of him being the monster was hitting. He looked tired. Was anybody scared when he was hitting that TV with that bat? Was anybody? I wasn't. I wasn't scared. Like he looked exhausted. I think he was like 101 pounds or something. I don't know. And so now you're gonna play with your blocks now. But I know she's sober, but she's still. He looked out of breath. Like he never looked scary. And all the things we saw, he looked sad. And his brother said when he drank, he became emotional. He looked sad. My kiddo is 7, 103 pounds. Thank you. He looked sad. You? How old are you? How old are you? Oh, no, you're only like 60 something. Yeah, you're not. Yeah. Yeah, because you're only 7 years old. And he had some health issues. And I'm glad that didn't come up too much because the jury might have thought that he died because of the health issues when it was positional asphyxiation. It was because of she didn't let him out. And the state said they should have charged her with like I think it's something about confinement and like they should have charged her with more things, but they didn't.
She should have went to jail.
She should have went to jail. Oh, she is in jail. Mm-hmm. When I
See, that was a pretty bad attitude.
very bad attitude.
Yeah.
Good job.
Although, why did
See, my 7-year-old knows. Okay, my 7-year-old knows this is a bad attitude.
Yep.
What'd you say?
I wonder why like she is saying like she
So
forgives.
come here real quick.
Mhm.
So stand right there.
Mhm.
So we have consequences for our actions. What are consequences?
When you do like something like bad, like throwing furniture.
Yeah, if you throw furniture, what would be a good consequence for throwing furniture? He's never thrown furniture. Because that's illegal. That could be property destruction. Does that make sense? So we respect ourselves. We respect other people. So who did I say first? Who do we respect? Who do we respect? So we respect ourselves, we respect other people, and we respect property. We respect things, okay? Also animals too. That's nice too. But then And if somebody's not treating you right, you let mommy, daddy, you let your teacher, you let somebody know if somebody isn't treating you right. And then also we don't lie. We tell the truth, right? Yeah, because even if we don't like somebody, that doesn't mean that we can lie about them, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, or else they might find about it.
Mm-hmm. I just saw then there's no furniture to sit on. So so you teach kids at a young age that how to treat people, how to be kind, like how to like you teach them at a young age and like it's not okay to do these things. It's just not. What did Kurt say? She way too much. She has a lot of respect for all the things she deserves because that's then entitlement. She is entitled.
She is not
Welcome,
respectful.
Ace. Yeah, she is not respectful of other people.
Yeah.
She puts herself above everybody else. And that's not.
And she also told somebody to slam like a TV or something.
Yeah, yep.
And that is very and that like costs a lot.
Yeah, yeah. All right. I'm gonna finish this, okay? All right.
Okay.
So she did say, I am sorry. I cannot begin to fathom any of their grief and sadness. Forgive me. But she said this to try to get a lesser trial, like to try to get uh less jail time. I don't know that she meant that. I don't think she really meant that she was sorry. You gonna go downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. If you need a snack, you can grab a snack, okay? And if you need something, Dada is in the basement, okay? All right. Almost everything. Oh my gosh. Ugh. And then she like continues want to hold on to him. And she ends it with, forgive me, George. Forgive me, Torres family. Forgive me, Judge Cranick. To the entire planet, forgive me. It's I don't ugh. I'm almost done. So give me like 10 minutes and I'll be down.
Then I can watch YouTube on your profile.
Yes. Okay. So you can go ahead and start on my profile now. Okay. Have fun. You did it. You did a decent job. Oh, allow me, please, to brush off the muck, wipe the ugh off my face, and fix. Oh my gosh. Like she still is making herself the victim after she asked for all that forgiveness. She then, and then she says that would I be the darling mother? But she was never the darling mother. She was never woman of the year. I am a survivor. Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17. But like Sarah, learn to do good. Like you have to do these things. We got justice. You are the oppressor. Thankfully, your child still has his son. And my heart breaks for George's family. Protect the people that aren't safe. Oh my gosh. Exactly. Did the therapist give? So did a therapist give Sarah a book? Just don't kill other people. Like it's just like don't do crimes. It seems pretty easy. Just don't do crimes. I appreciate you all. I wanted to get through it because I wanted to point out the fact that statement was not forgiveness. I studied forgiveness. My dissertation was on forgiveness and aggressive children. I was on a forgiveness research team. That was vengefulness and rage. That was petty. That was mean. That was unnecessary. Nobody needed to see that. And uh I'm glad she listened to Owens. So that's where I have like a little because she did listen to Owens. Her and Owens were kind of on the same wavelength. Y'all tell me because somebody said, and I've tried to find if the status of her current attorney, because his name is let's see, her current attorney is Alan Holland for her appeal. And some people have, and so I have seen nothing um saying that there have been issues between the two of them. I've seen in the chat that there have been some issues. And so if somebody can point me to a source or put it down in the comments, if there is something, because I would definitely cover if she's having an issue for Mr. Holland. Thoughts and prayers for Mr. Holland. Mr. Owens, but I think Mr. Owens just let her do what she wanted to do, and he just picked and chose his battles. Because I think Mr. Owens, I think one of his biggest things was for her to stop writing letters to the judge. He'll like, I'll present any motion you want. You want hair and makeup? I'll ask the judge for hair and makeup. You want whatever you want, I'll ask for it. Uh, and so she did stop writing the judge when she had Owens. But I think a good lawyer, because I don't know that she understood him spending his time writing all of those, like all spending his time on frivolous things. It kept him from like going through all the discovery to find those videos to try to suppress those videos. Like, because I think if Owens, I wonder if Owens had seen that video, if he might have tried to fight to keep it out, or maybe he looked at that video and still thought because they had, because he was so pleased to have Dr. Brannon, I'm bad with names, Brandon, something like that. He was so glad, like he was the guy that testified, and the one woman, you know, was acquitted. Like we have Dr. Harper and she's saying, and I truly think Owens thought that was enough, but like we have eyes and ears. And the stuff she said was bad, but then I saw what she did with my own eyes. And it was bad. And I think if he was truly doing all those things, she probably would have recorded it. Wouldn't she? I just, in my opinion, I question her credibility, and that's what the prosecution also questioned her credibility. I think the judge questioned her credibility, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Like, hopefully, we can be done with Sarah for a little bit. It's my understanding that the appeals attorney, that this will not affect her appeal at all. That because they just take it for um they just took it from, it's just only what happened during the trial. Like that's all that matters. This letter does not matter. And that's, so I need to know where people are getting the information that he asked, because I haven't been able to find like a source for that. I tried to search like the Florida that appeals, because I think she's in Sixth Circuit for appeals. I looked it up. Orlando, I think, is in the Sixth Circuit. So I tried to search that docket. And her case, I think, hasn't even been uploaded there yet because it's still open in the Maine, in the Orange County clerk, whatever, online. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Thoughts and prayers for Mr. Allen. Uh, and I do just hope that her son is given the option to not have communication with her if that's what he wants. She's a convicted, and if he doesn't want to talk to her, I think that should be his choice, because I think she only uses people for her needs and not necessarily what they need, because it might be best for her son to be able to decide if he wants to have a relationship with her versus being forced to have one. And that'll be up to the family court, not my business. But yeah, I think he's old enough to decide. If he was younger, that would be different. And the courts might, but if he was younger, I would be more concerned, because younger kids are more susceptible to emotional harm. And I don't know that she's a particularly safe person. And so I'm so glad that I hope Brian like goes off into, and he's happy, and he'll probably never marry, never date. I don't know. Like he'll probably, ugh, could you imagine surviving Sarah? Ugh, ugh, mm-mm. No thanks. She only mentions her son. Exactly. She only mentions her son when she thinks it'll make her look better. That's the only time, or when she wants something, because she wanted alimony while she was in court, and she also wanted because she was getting $100 in child support and alimony, and um the family courts will decide. Yeah. And so and I don't do excuses, I try to explain. So I try to help us understand there is no excuse. There is there is no excuse. I don't There's not a diagnosis in the DSM-5. I have it right here. Not a single thing in here justifies a single thing she did. She's no, 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 no. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. I'm planning, depending on what's happening, I'm planning to go live maybe on Tuesday. If y'all have questions or things that y'all would like for me to cover, make sure to let me know in the regular comments, because that just it's easier for me to find it there. Thank y'all for being here. Have a good one. Bye.